you see something that has such great value as the Health Museum, it inspires you to do even more.
The Health Museum is such a fantastic, innovative, fun way for kids to be exposed to health and the human body. We're so proud to be able to support that.
Creating an environment where enthusiasm and excitement can be ignited is really a responsibility we have.
Houston's special. It's my hometown and became my husband's.
Medical society has always been a very important part of the Texas Medical Center. But this museum is a medical center institution, same way as MD Anderson or Methodist Hospital or any of them, and just as important, because each of them contributes to what has become in Houston the largest medical complex in the world.
Harris County Medical Society is a professional organization of physicians and medical students in Harris County. And we have taken a very active role to make a better medical health community here in Harris County and Houston. One of the aspects that initially led to the start of the Health Museum was Victory Over Polio, a campaign in 1962. The Medical Society led an effort with the Chamber of Commerce to get all of our citizens vaccinated for polio.
Well, these people, after they got their cube, could contribute anything that they wanted to. There was no charge for any of this. And they did, and I think there was about $200,000 collected. It was a great victory. And so I had this $200,000 sitting there. What are we going to do with it?
The citizens community said we ought to develop exhibits about health so we can educate people better about their health and how to take care of themselves, because people didn't understand polio. They didn't understand vaccines. The vaccines were relatively new still, and there needed to be that education.
And subsequently, that effort was begun over in the Houston Museum of Natural Science. It functioned there for well over 20 years.
Early on, actually, when I was a medical student and then a resident, I was very aware of what was called at the time, the Harris County Medical Society supported what was called the Health Adventure Program. And the Health Adventure Program was basically like a mobile museum. It was really cool. And it served as a way to introduce elementary school students to sort of the miracles and the wonders of the human body in a very innovative and interactive way. As time went on, it became clear that the needs were great. This program is so successful, and that in part led to the discussions and the actual eventual building of the Health Museum.
After many years, the visionaries decided it was time for a renovation. And when they did, they didn't realize the amount of interest there was in developing something new, something special.
We hired designers who designed an amazing body pavilion. And so we looked at that, and we were actually in the process, started to raise money for renovation of the Hall of Health. We started looking at it practically once we got into the details of it, that the 3,000 square feet wasn't enough to do the exhibit justice.
Meetings were held with the entire board of the Harris County Medical Society, but unanimously, the impression was that the museum should be built. And of course, it was always to be here on the 1500 block of Herman Drive.
Dr. McGovern had the vision of what this could be. He agreed to be our first and largest donor for the project, and that helped get us kicked off and running.
He was kind and people-oriented, loved children. In fact, when we would go over to the zoo and walk around, he would say, well, I'm going to sit up here at the front and watch the families. Well, I did my walk all the way around the zoo, and he would be there thoroughly enjoying the families. And that was just how he was.
It was very satisfying to seeing it being developed, built, and then also everything that went into it. On a project like this, you can never say it's done. You got to keep moving and thinking. At one point in time, you look around and almost all of us are doctors and physicians. You know, we're missing something here. We need to reach out into the public, the people who have helped us before in so many projects, get them involved in this museum because they have things to offer. And I think one of the first moves was, I think it was so great, was to get Miss Whitfield back into the museum.
It was interesting because people started talking about the health museum, and so I had to learn from the get-go what it is. And so it's been a learning situation and a lot of fun. I've met a lot of wonderful people, and I think we've done some wonderful things.
So it's been a marvelous example of what hard work, good ideas, and patience brings to somebody doing a task.
Thank you so much for coming out to the Health Museum. I'm Melanie Johnson. I'm the president and CEO of the Health Museum. And I tell you, this is a fantastic time to be the president of this museum because of you who have been around with us for 20 years. Absolutely. When I joined the Health Museum a year and a half ago, I felt that it was absolutely where I needed to be. The founders truly set the stage. They had a very deliberate intention about what their desire was for the Health Museum. It should be a hospitable place. It should be an open door so that the community feels that there's no better place to learn about their health and well-being than at the Health Museum. And the founders of this museum could foresee that 20 years ago.
We are now celebrating our 20th anniversary. What a fabulous milestone for this museum. This is a great opportunity to rally behind and rally in support of this museum going forward. We are going to embark on another capital campaign to look at ways to renovate the entire space that we work in and heighten the experience.
It's to ever evolve because medical science and medical technologies are ever evolving, and we want to be that space where people know that we're always on the cutting edge and we want to be there.
Our exhibits have become more interactive, and they will so in the future even more. We have most recently added the DeBakey Cell Lab.
The DeBakey Cell Lab is completely bilingual, both audio and visual, and in all the instructions. And that just opens up the plethora of people who can come in and partake in the science experiments. I think it's most important that we use contemporary technologies in order to motivate people.
My dad was very close to John McGovern, and they were, a mutual admiration society. And for my dad to have, his name on the Cell Lab in the McGovern Museum, I know would really be very satisfying for him. His whole life was public service and education. So that is, I think, one of his greatest legacies and one of the things that he would be most proud of.
In 1956, I went to the Chicago National Science Museum. And in that museum, I saw a appropriately authorized body that had been sliced right down the middle. I looked at that for about an hour and said, how fascinating. It was that museum and that exhibit that was the initial catalyst that got me moving to say, there's got to be a better way for me as an individual to contribute to society. And when I saw that body, I said, this is it.
Find out more about being a Hearts of Gold for Life member. For more details, see the table near the visitor service desk.